If all of your money is going in and out of one giant plate, one business bank account, then it's going to all be eaten up. So what we do is we give you smaller plates in these different categories so that they can be segmented into the different plates, and those plates can be consumed based on the actual category that they should be being consumed on. Hey guys, Abby Johnson here with Matterhorn Business Development. If this is your first time on the channel, I am the CEO and the certified Profit First professional here at Matterhorn. So today I'm going to be the one talking to you about Profit First. Now I get a lot of people who come to us and they've kind of heard of Profit First. They know the basic idea of separating your money out into different bank accounts and taking your profit first, but they haven't actually read the book, or they don't actually understand the viewpoint and the mindset behind the Profit First system. Mike Michalowicz didn't just create this system and pull it out of thin air. He actually based it off of certain tenets and principles and observable things in the world based off of how one thinks and how one operates. It's actually one of my favorite things about Profit First is that it plays into human nature and your inherent habits as a human to operate in this way. So today we're going to dive into kind of the mindset and viewpoints that make up the Profit First system. Really quick before we dive in, I did want to let you know we have a program called Adventure to Profit with a very in-depth Profit First module where you can get help from me, a certified Profit First professional, to implement Profit First. Check out the link below and start your free trial over there today. Okay, so the first principle or observable habit, so to speak, that Profit First is based off of is the concept of the plate size that you are using. So if you look back in history 300 years ago, plates were actually only this big, and over time they've gotten a little bigger and bigger and bigger, and now here in America especially, we've got a big old plate, especially when you're at a restaurant, it's filled with food. And I don't know about you, but I was always taught to finish my food. I don't necessarily, but my husband is someone who definitely does. If there's food on the plate, he's going to eat it. If that plate is this big, he's going to eat it all. If that plate is this big, he's going to eat it all. It's also the same concept with sodas. If you go to the movies or fast food, the sodas in America have gotten larger and larger. And if you give me my favorite soda in a bigger cup, I'm going to finish it. Another food example is popcorn. I love popcorn. That's like my favorite food. And I usually share it with my husband every once in a while. And he said, "Hey, I'll just eat what you don't eat," one night. And I said, "If you give me a bowl of popcorn, I'm going to finish it." So you should take what you want because I will finish the bowl. It's all based on this concept that whatever portion size you have is going to be consumed. The idea with Profit First being that if all of your money is going in and out of one giant plate, one business bank account, then it's going to all be eaten up. So what we do is we give you smaller plates in these different categories so that they can be segmented into the different plates, and those plates can be consumed based on the actual category that they should be being consumed on. This really ties into this next principle. Actually, it's a law, which is Parkinsons Law. I feel like the small plates is also Parkinsons Law, but basically the idea that demand will increase to meet supply. You can also apply this in a way of work will fill the time allotted for it. So for example, if you give an employee 10 days to complete a task, they're going to take the 10 days to complete the task. If you give them 1 day to complete the task, they're going to figure out how to get it done in 1 day, unless it's something that's physically impossible. This applies to yourself too, by the way, productivity hack there. But then with money, your spending will meet your income. You see money is in your account, so you go and spend it. You just closed a big client, you got a big deposit. So, oh, cool, I can buy that new computer, I can buy that new piece of equipment, I definitely can hire this really expensive employee. I see this happen all the time. For example, I saw this reel on Instagram, and it was a woman who does personal budgeting for people. So budgeting in their personal life and finances. And she showed the figures of, she was working with a surgeon in LA or somewhere fancy in California, and that surgeon was bringing home, I don't know if it was W-2 or whatever, but money in the bank account was $55,000 a month. And she showed their list of expenses and how they were spending $55,000 a month. And that's not like, oh, they set aside 10 grand into savings or 10 grand into investments or whatever. They were spending every single dollar that was coming into the household. So if the money is there, someone can figure out how to spend it. I'm sure that I would profit first if I was bringing into our household $55,000 a month. It would be being segmented off very smartly. So if the money's there, it's going to get spent. If the time is there, it's going to get spent. So this is really great to think about, obviously in profit first, but as I mentioned before, how it relates to productivity and work as well. Okay, the next principle of profit first is about sequencing. The idea here is that you are serving what is most important first. This was kind of based off the principle that people should eat what is most important first. I've actually seen people do this with kids where they give the kids, like little kids, toddlers who are kind of just now eating and at a very formative age for eating where their habits can be formed for life there, in my opinion. But I've seen people do this where they give the kid protein first. Like, okay, here's your meat. You can eat that first. And then the kid eats all of the meat. Then here's your veggie. Okay, the kid eats all the veggie. Then here's some bread or some sort of carb, starch, whatever. And then maybe the kid doesn't eat as much because it's the last thing they're eating. Most importantly, they got the good stuff in first, at least. So if their belly gets full, it's at least full with the better food rather than the empty carbs. That doesn't only apply to kids, by the way. So we are taking this sequencing principle, and in profit first, we are allocating to specific accounts in a specific order. Because of this, we are treating profit the most important because it is, and that is where we allocate to first. So you take money from income, you put it into your profit account, then you put it into the owner's pay account, then you put it into the tax account, and then finally whatever is left gets put into expenses. And this way, you as a business owner are forced to consume what you have in the expense account, and you aren't doing it at the expense of the other accounts. So the other most important accounts have been served first, and therefore you know exactly how much you can spend at the end of the day in your operating expense account. And finally, the last principle is removing temptation. I don't know why money and food are such a great analogy for each other, but again, this is just like having a diet. If you are going on a strict diet, you should just go ahead and remove all of the junk in your house. That's what my husband and I do. We might have a couple little treats that we have. My husband even has one treat that he keeps locked away in a closet so that he doesn't have access to it all the time. But really, like, we just don't have junk in our house, and then we aren't tempted to eat it. Same goes with our kid. We don't have it laying around for him, so he's not asking for cookies and cupcakes and ice cream because our house doesn't even have cookies and cupcakes and ice cream. Just like you want to remove temptation for yourself in dieting or staying healthy, I'm not even talking about just dieting, but having a healthier lifestyle, let's say, you want to do the same with your money. And what that means with profit first is taking your profit and tax accounts, because they are sitting there, usually you aren't transferring in and out of them actively, except maybe on a quarterly basis, actually setting those up at a bank number 2. So at a separate bank where it's actually hard to get to. And this is one of the reasons why I actually like small regional banks for bank number 2 is usually their technology is not quite up to par. And sometimes it can be harder to access those accounts. It can be harder to log in online. But even if you do get an online login, don't ask for one. Say, I don't want it. I don't want an online login. I don't want checks. I don't want a debit card. These are just savings accounts. And to get the money, you actually have to go to the bank and get the money. This removes the temptation of this money, especially when it's accumulating throughout the year. It's really easy at the, it's November and you're like, ooh, I've got $50,000 in my tax account. I can just use that to purchase a new vehicle for the company. No, you can't. And it's so much more tempting to use it when you see it all the time logging into your main bank. So hide these away, remove the temptation, especially if you know yourself, like be honest with yourself. If you are a spender, if you think it's really easy to just transfer in between the accounts, go open up a separate bank where it's hard to reach. You have to go into the bank every quarter to get your profit distribution. And that way you aren't tempted to spend this money on things you shouldn't be spending it on. All right, so I hope this was insightful and now you understand why the profit system is what it is. There are reasons why you have these different bank accounts and why you you serve them in a specific order. As I mentioned before, we have our program Adventure to Profit. This is a great place to go if you are trying to implement Profit First on yourself to get some extra support. We've got some very in-depth trainings from myself and the exact steps and how to analyze your business, make sure you're on the right percentages and all of that good stuff. Check out the link below to start your free trial for that today.